Good morning. Wanted to introduce everybody to my new project out here. I'm still working on my C10. It's still here. It's not going anywhere. I love that truck. Got a couple of videos coming out about that real soon because I have changed quite a lot on it. I just have not had time to make a video, and I say that as I'm working on something else. I really do have time. I just had other interest. But video coming soon on that. Wanted to introduce you to my new project sitting out here in the garage. This is my 1963 Chevrolet Bel Air. Picked this up about a week ago, just as it sits. Quick rundown on it. 5.3 out of a pickup truck, 2002 I think. Came out of a Silverado, the guy told me. Behind it is a MV 3500 truck manual transmission. So not ideal for this setup, but works quite well. The only problem I'm having with this one is finding third gear, and I think it's just because it's such a long sweep. The shifts are short, but it's a long sweep from 2 to 3, so I end up going 2 to 5. But I hadn't driven a lot. I probably put 30 miles on it. But pretty clean car. Truck pickup seats, I think they came out of a Tahoe probably because they fold forward. Not much rust in this one, a little in the trunk, but I'd pop it up, but you know what rust looks like, I'm sure. All in all, this car's in pretty good shape. But I do have some things I need to do to it. So I started tearing the wiring apart. He used the truck harness. As you can see, there's a fuse block and the computer out of the truck. And it ran okay. It did not want to get above 3,500 RPM. It didn't stall. It just did not have the power it should. So I'm thinking it has, a stock tune on it. They probably just deleted bats, slammed it in here, and drove it. So this is another project I feel like somebody probably got 85-90% on and either ran out of money or interest. But it worked out good for me because I picked this up. I don't want to say a steal. I think I gave fair money for it. But it has a lot going for it. All new shocks all the way around, disc brakes all the way around. As you can see, there's my power master cylinder that he put on. All the LS stuff. Got an inline electric fuel pump on it, Willwood clutch, master cylinder, and the car drives pretty straight. It's a heavy car. It's not the quickest thing on the road, but it's a lot of fun. But my project today, which I've already started before I turn my camera on here, is I'm pulling all this wiring out, and what I have, just like on my pickup truck, because I love it, is the Holley terminator system. So in that box is everything I need to be able to tune this vehicle myself or get a remote tune if I desire, and all new wiring, and we'll clean all this up and hopefully I can rev it out a little better. I will probably end up camming this as well. Anybody who knows LS knows they need a cam pretty much first thing, but I do want to get it running and driving a little better, get some miles on it to where I trust it before I invest in the cam. Still hadn't picked one out. Thinking about the truck Norris. That seems to be what everybody loves right now if you can get one. But I want to get back to work, get to pulling this wiring harness off. And just a little word of advice. You see my little blue tape. I'm still marking these, even though they're coming off. This one came off the back of the engine at the top somewhere. If I need to trace it out, I can always come back to this harness and undo it and trace things if I need to. So it takes a few more minutes, but doesn't take a long time. It makes life a whole lot easier if you run into problems later. But I'm going to get back to work, and I will update this as I go. I am back with the Bel Air. I did not go over a step-by-step of how to install the Holley Terminator X. There's a ton of videos on YouTube about it. I just wanted to note some key things that I had just things I found. The hardest part of this was figuring out the sloppy wiring that the guy before me did. And that's probably going to be the case on anything that you buy from somebody else that's been modified. So that's why my blue tape was so important. It led me, I had issues, I could run right back to it and figure out where wires came from and where they went. You need a little bit of understanding of how to trace things out. Ohm meter is a good tool. You can set it to ohms. Most meters have a noise function. You can set that up. You can touch two ends. If it beeps, you got the same wire. So, not a lot to it. I know it doesn't look good, but it will. What I've done up to this point is I want to do this in stages. And I didn't want to get under the dash and mount everything and drill a hole in the firewall just to find out that I need to move it later because I want to add an under dash AC unit or remove that heater box and put another unit in. I actually do need to change the heater coil in it. But for the time being, I'm out of my ECU right here. Got the handheld inside. Didn't have to buy a lot of extra things to make this work. I did buy a plug for the alternator. That just goes back to a keyed source. It excites the alternator, makes it work. You do have to buy, I had to buy a map sensor and find somewhere to install it. This was the intake tube off of my C10 before I turboed it. That's the filter that came on it. You know, it was sitting right here. That is a clamp off of a dryer that I had laying around, but it fit perfect and it works. I'm probably going to get another elbow. This is also the elbow that I had on my C10 before I turboed it, and it already had the hole in it for the mat sensor, but you can see it's kind of dimpled in. It's because it hits the hood. Nowhere near the amount of room under this as it was the pickup truck. Again, everything looks kind of sloppy, but it's actually fairly tidy for what it is. I have everything wrapped up, taped, zip tied where it's out of the way. It's not going to fall and hit my exhaust headers or anything. One thing I did do with this one as well is I ordered this kit with EV1 injectors, 4 EV1 injectors, but I had the Moltec injectors. I bought adapters for $20. They all work. The reason I did that is the EV1 injectors are a lot easier to find than the Moltec. So if I want to go up to 80-pound injectors later, when I cam it, I have that option. So just a little bit of thought process behind it. You know, planning for the future. I may never change it, but for $20 it was worth trying. Not a lot of other things to really discuss on this. They're all pretty simple. I did, as you can see right here, I broke the tab off of the truck intake so I could run a vacuum line over to the ECU. It doesn't like the factory map sensor, but I had some tubing laying around, ran that. One thing about this, since it's done, and I believe it did have the factory tune on it from just they deleted that, threw it in here. I put the Holley on it. I did a can tune, so no fine tuning, no anything like that. Turned the key, made sure everything worked. It was stumbling and it was running kind of rough. So I grabbed the temperature gun, checked all of my exhaust tubes. Everything over there on the driver's side was hot, about 200, 240 degrees, not long after starting it up. These were cold. Put my hands on them, they were about 60 degrees. Nothing on this side was firing, which led me to think it has to be a common issue. So ended up finding the first place I went, the ground wire that goes to the back of the head. That's anytime you see something online with similar issues, people say, did you check your grounds? Well, mine was just a little bit loose, and it was enough to make this car stumble and only run on 4 cylinders, which is fine if you're driving a Focus, but not what you want with your LS swapped Bel Air. But as I was saying with the factory or with the can tune, I went out, drove it around just to make sure everything was right, pulled over, stopped on the side of the road, whatever, rolling in first gear, and just put it to the floor. It went a little lean, but it broke tires loose. It did not do that before I swapped all this. Yanked second, it broke second loose. So there's a lot of power in here that was missing. So was it worth the investment to me? Yes. I got rid of the crumbly wire. I got rid of the mess that was here, the fuse box, the factory computer, and I can tune this myself or send it off, get it tuned, remote tuned, which I've done, actually did for this truck. Worked out real well, made a lot of power. So just wanted to throw these things out there, some of my experiences with it, and it's a hobby. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy it, drive them. That's what they're made for. Until next time.